Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for coming to my YouTube channel. My name is Lauren Hardy and I am your wholesaling coach. Today, I'm gonna talk about what you need to know about wholesaling houses virtually. So I am an expert at virtual wholesaling. It is all that I do. I'm a volume wholesaler and all of my territories are outside of my backyard. And the reason is because I live in Southern California, specifically Orange County, and it is cutthroat here. It is very, very hard to wholesale houses in my backyard. Now, you might be watching this video because you might be in a similar situation. Maybe your backyard is too expensive. It's too high priced. The investment model just does not make sense in your backyard. It could also be that you live in an area where real estate does not hold much value. So it could be either too expensive or not expensive enough, right? So you're probably watching this channel because of that, because of the virtual concept. I totally get it. And there's probably some things going through your head, like, what is it that I need to know? What's the catch? So in this video, I am going to go over some of the big things that you really need to consider if you are going to consider a virtual wholesaling model. So in this video, I am going to explain some of the opportunities that come with virtual wholesaling. I'm gonna show you how virtual wholesaling can really be done from anywhere. I'm gonna share with you how you can escape your competitive, saturated market. But I'm going to also share with you how virtual wholesaling can open up the door to a lot of headaches and a lot of problems if you go about it the wrong way. So let's get into it. Virtual investing can be done from anywhere. So I like to say the tagline, live anywhere, invest where you want. And I absolutely believe in this concept. It's a concept that I grew up with. My father owned properties that were in Ohio when we lived in California. And I have been investing in out-of-state properties for probably the last 7 years. So it is a concept that I very much believe in. I also have a coaching program and I've put 350 students through it. So I know that virtual wholesaling can absolutely be done. I have students that live in India. I have students that live in Spain. I have tons of students all over the globe who have successfully been wholesaling houses. And isn't it amazing that you do not have to be tied to where you live? So I personally love living in Orange County, California. It's amazing, right? The weather is unbeatable. It's a beautiful place to live. There's a ton of stuff to do. But if we're talking real estate investments, not very easy. You have to have a ton of money and the returns just don't make sense. There are places in this country where the returns make way more sense. And I want to go where the profit margin is the highest, and it's definitely not here. And even if I did want to compete in this market, I didn't come born with a trust fund. It's super expensive. The average house price here is $850,000. So you really have to kind of have a lot going for you to start flipping or wholesaling houses in an area like where I live. But does that mean that I just give up on all my dreams with real estate investing? No, it just means that I need to look elsewhere. And I know I'm not alone. A lot of people fall into this category. A lot of people get into wholesaling or they hear about wholesaling and they don't even realize that they are in a market that's not conducive to wholesaling or real estate investing techniques. And they go after it for years, banging their head against the wall, wondering why they are not doing as many deals as their friend who lives in Arizona. And it's not until they stumble upon a video like this from someone like me who went through the same thing and then went from, maybe doing 3 deals a year to now I consistently close over 50 deals a year every single year. So just believe that it absolutely can be done from anywhere and you can invest wherever you want. When you learn the virtual model, now you have no boundaries. Virtual investing opens up more opportunities for profiting. So what I mean by that is you can actually utilize different investment techniques that you might not be able to do in your home market. So let's say that you live in a market that's very low priced and the cash flow is great. maybe you get a 2% rent to price ratio where you live, and that's awesome. But house flipping is not super profitable there because the price of the properties are so low that by the time you remodel and fix them up, you don't have much profit left. That is a very real scenario. But say you really have these dreams of being a high-end house flipper. Well, if you learn the virtual model, you can absolutely do that. You can go to, let's say, the major metro that's maybe 4 hours away, and you can successfully flip houses and do that type of investment technique. Now, let's talk about maybe the opposite scenario. Maybe your backyard is pretty good for flipping. Maybe the average house price is $450,000. So if you get a good deal, you can absolutely, dump 60 grand in that property, fix it up like you're on HGTV, and you can make a really, really good profit doing that. That's great. But what if you want to buy cash flowing rentals? You are going to find that it's going to get harder to find a property that meets that rent to price ratio you want. So most people want a 1% rent to price ratio. And there's plenty of places in the country that are 1% or better. It might mean that your backyard is not necessarily that place, but there's plenty of places that do meet that model. If you can do it virtually, you can go to those places where you can get that 1% rent to price ratio. Now, what if building houses excites you? What if you hear about a new territory that is emerging, a market that's emerging because maybe an employer just moved their headquarters there and you want to get into development? Well, if you know how to work these deals virtually, you can absolutely do that. I did exactly that. When I got into virtual, Nashville was booming. It was insane. So I wanted a piece of that. So I took my business to Nashville. I still lived in California, but I was building houses in Nashville, and I was able to participate in that development boom. And it was amazing. It was a great time. I made a ton of money, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I did not take that leap into going virtual. One reason I really, really like virtual and why most people talk about it is because they want to escape their competitive market. So say you were in a market that was actually pretty good maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but as the time has gone by, more and more wholesalers have entered the market, and now it's super saturated and it's getting very, very difficult to get deals. Let's say that you're noticing things like your marketing budget is starting to go up, like you're having to spend more money in marketing to get that one deal, whereas maybe years ago you didn't have to spend that much in marketing. That's when you start feeling the heat of the competition. And that is when you probably do want to start considering your options outside of your territory. It could be that you want to go maybe an hour away. Maybe you want to go somewhere that's 3 hours away, or maybe you want to completely leave and go out of state. That's where going virtual is really, really going to come in hand. And it's going to allow you to just not have to deal with a market that is just getting super, super saturated. I myself have left markets because there was a point where the amount of competition just made it impossible to profit. But now I get that I'm talking about going virtual in a way that it's all like roses and butterflies, and it can be great and it can be very, very lucrative. But let's talk about how virtual can cause some headaches. Let's talk about some of the pitfalls of going virtual. What can really be difficult about going virtual is you just don't know the area you're in. You don't know the lay of the land, and you don't have a big base of buyers. There's a lot of ways that going virtual can be very, very difficult because you don't really understand the territory. So for example, you might lock up a property or a contract in an area that nobody's buying in, but you think it's a good deal because you got the contract like 50% off, right? How are you going to know that, that contract is never going to move? That happens a lot when you go virtual at first. Like, expect that. So I always recommend that you work with a local joint venture partner, somebody that is local in the area, that is successful in the business that you're trying to do. So if we're talking wholesaling here, work with a local wholesaler that is just crushing it and doing deals, so you start learning the lay of the land. It could also be hard to comp houses out. So let's say you are used to an area where the properties were built in 1960s and above. So you're used to construction that's a little bit newer. And you go to a virtual territory where houses were built in the early 1900s. That is going to give you a run for your money. It's going to take a minute for you to understand the construction. It's going to take a while for you to understand what you should lock up under contract versus what just needs way too much work. So those are the two things that I notice the most with going virtual, where people really, really struggle. And just understanding like the pricing in the area and the buyer's expectations. You know, there are some areas where a buyer will buy something, you know, that's 70 cents on the dollar. And then there's areas where buyers want it 50 cents on the dollar. And it really takes you having some basic market knowledge for you to understand those differences. So that is how going virtual can cause some headaches. And a lot of people, when they're going through those headaches, that's when they want to turn around and give up. So I see that all the time. Usually when people go virtual without getting any kind of mentorship or a joint venture partner or both, that they usually give up when they face these issues. They'll get something under contract, they get really excited about it, and then they can't move it, and then they just give up on the whole virtual concept. But I'm here to tell you, I've seen enough people do this, and then I've seen people succeed. And the difference is they get mentorship. So they get a coaching program like mine. They get that coaching that they need. They cut their learning curve when it comes to just running your business virtually. And they also get a local joint venture partner. That combination really seems to be the success formula from what I've seen. So that is it, guys. I hope that you guys learned enough to give you some ideas of what you should know when you go virtually. If you want to learn more about virtual wholesaling and you really want to, master this, check out my coaching program at www.virtualinvestingmastery.com. I also have a free wholesaling mini course at laurenhardyco.com. All of those links are going to be at the bottom. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys give me a shout out, leave me a comment, or give me a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.